All right, boys. Oh, let me. All right, boys. Today we got a video on budgeting your payouts. All right. Let's just title the document that shit, and then we gotta go Times New Roman 12 on them. But basically, for this example, let's say that you got $1,000 from Top Step, and it hit your bank account, and after tax and after the fees from the ACH, surprisingly, it gets down to flat $1,000 for our example here. And let's say you're getting a payout once every 2 months if you're sort of new, right? So this is how you would budget your payouts. First, I know a lot of y'all, or a lot of people in general, I used to do this as well. When you get your payouts, you immediately ball out. Like you could have $100 in your bank account, you get the $1,000 payout, and now you're spending like $100 a week. That's not what we want to do. All right. This is just saying that you have no expenses, you live with your parents, and nothing else, no bills, none of that. And then I'm gonna do one for if you live with your parents. So let's say that you have like no bills, none of that. You're like me. You're 18. You're a high school senior, and you live with your parents. So I would say 25% just leave in your bank account for tax. $250. Right? And then from there you have $750 left. Right? I personally, I would put $250 to $300 into investing. If you want to know what to invest in, I made a YouTube video on this, but this could be something like the S&P 500 if you want that. It could be Tesla, it could be Bitcoin, etc. You could diversify or put it into Amazon or put it into stocks. Because I remember my first ever payout, with some of that money, I bought Amazon stock. That's what I remember. One of my first ever payouts, or my first ever payout, I bought Amazon stock with a portion of it, right? So now let's say you have 500 to 450 left, right? And then let's say you leave 150 for fun. 150 is a little extreme, but 150 to 175 for fun. And then let's say the rest of the money you save. Now, you could save it in your checkings account, you could put it in your savings account, you could save it in one of those high yield savings account where like over time it will multiply. However you want to save your money, save it, right? But don't really splurge your money. And eventually you'll start getting bigger payouts and it'll be more reoccurring. This is just for like your first or second or third payout, right? Now let's say that you do have bills to pay, right? What I would do is instead of 250 to 300 into investing, I would go 100 to 150 into investing. Now, if you do have bills, well, here's the thing, right? If you do have bills, right, and you're making $1,000 every 2 months, that's not sustainable. You can't really pay rent and pay for food and pay for all that. So this example doesn't really matter to y'all because you would have a job on the side or you would have a 9 to 5, and with that $1,000 from Top Step, let's say, what's like a job that people would work? I mean, I worked as a concierge making $14 an hour, but I don't think that's like a grown-up job. I think, okay, grown-up, you'd probably be making like maybe like 60K a year, 50K a year, something like that, 40K maybe. And then if you're trying to make this work, so realistically, you would probably making with Top Step, you would make like $3,500 a month, $245,000, right? I think that's sort of reasonable. 25% of this Top Step shit you leave to tax. You would put a portion of your money, again, the same things, into investing. However, if I was making this amount of money, which I'm not saying is like horrible, but if you're making and you want to grow your money, I would put a decent amount of money into investing. Really, I would cut down on the fun, leaving almost nothing for fun, because like you gotta like lock in. and then I would just save the rest. But that's really it. Just a quick video. I'll see y'all on Monday. I appreciate y'all.